And we look at the White House right now as Donald Trump is planning a return to the campaign in public this weekend. He wants to hold a rally tomorrow night in Florida, another rally Sunday in Pennsylvania. Donald Trump saying that he will be tested again, maybe today, for COVID-19, but his doctor already giving him the all clear to get back on the trail. And for more, let's bring in Julia Manchester. She's a reporter with The Hill, and she joins us in Washington. Julia, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Listen, I want to begin with the president's insistence that he's good to start campaigning once again this weekend. He was just in Walter Reed. He went in a week ago today. He was released on Monday. What's been the reaction to this news? Are people concerned about the possibility of Donald Trump insisting on going out once again while still maybe being infectious?
There are absolutely concerns, and I think there are also concerns because those close to him within the White House's orbit have come into contact with him and could possibly, we never know, could be contagious or infectious. So there's absolutely concern right then. You have to ask yourself, with the average American, if they tested positive for coronavirus, roughly a week, within the span of a week. And then after that span, they're able to go back to work. I don't know if that would necessarily always happen. I think other workplaces might have a lot more stricter measures. So there is the question as to whether President Trump is really pushing this on his doctors and trying to get release, or is this actually his doctors giving him the green light and the all clear on their own? One thing is for certain, though, his base loves this. His base wants to see him out in public. They don't want to see this virtual idea of him going to a virtual debate or holding a virtual rally. They like him out in public, out holding a big rally, because to them, that portrays some sort of strength.
Well, you mentioned the base, and that is one rationale that's being quoted in a number of different reports right now, trying to understand the reasoning behind this. And the other rationale that's being floated right now is this feeling that Donald Trump may be anxious right now to get back on the campaign trail. In fact, it's been described as this growing sense of desperation from Donald Trump. I'm wondering, where does the race stand now, just weeks away from voting day? And is Donald Trump and his campaign really feeling desperate at this point?
Well, weeks away from voting day, at national level polls as well as state level polls, we've seen that Donald Trump is trailing Joe Biden, in some cases by double digits. Now, he does not want to be in that sort of position as an incumbent president going into re-election. So obviously there needs to be some sort of play by his campaign to really appeal to a lot of swing voters or undecided voters at this point. But like we've seen before throughout President Trump's history in politics, he seems to really be attached to this idea of rallying his base. He wants to communicate directly to his base, and sometimes it feels like he's not necessarily talking to decided voters. So by holding these rallies, by doing these campaign tactics, just weeks out from the election, that shows that he is very much trying to rally up his own base. I would say definitely between both campaigns, the Biden campaign and the Trump campaign, they aren't taking anything for granted. We talk about President Trump being behind in the polls right now. However, we know that no one expected him to win in 2016. We have gotten so many so-called October surprises already this election cycle, and we only have a couple of weeks until October ends. So really anything can happen between now and election day.
But part of the equation here is age. Donald Trump's 74, Joe Biden is 77. They were meant to have a face-to-face debate. The Commission on election debates, presidential debates, they suggested a virtual one, which Donald Trump completely slammed down yesterday. So what does that mean about the future of debates here, given the COVID-19 diagnosis, the questions around that with Donald Trump, and the age of both candidates?
Well, it's up in the air right now. We know that for next week, October 15th, Joe Biden is slated to hold ABC News Town Hall in Philadelphia, where he will speak with voters in a town hall style format. He's already done this with some of the other networks here in the United States. President Trump has expressed a want to hold a rally that night. So they will both be doing that. However, for the next debate after that, there is a debate over that in terms of what the format will be and whether that will in fact be the last debate. Joe Biden's campaign says, look, we need to stick to this, what was scheduled. We agreed to these dates. President Trump is the one who is backing out and changing, the strategy and all of this. So we want this to be done on this date. However, President Trump's campaign wants to do yet another debate. So 2 more debates in addition to this October 15th rally where Vice President Biden will be holding a separate town hall. I think the strategy in wanting 2 debates is that even though debates don't historically, they're not huge indicators of whether voters are going to swing, either way on the presidential ticket. It is a chance where undecided voters can see these 2 candidates side by side and going head to head. So the Trump campaign is kind of leaning on this, I think, expectation that Biden will somehow crack under pressure and that President Trump will do better on the debate stage.
Before you go, I do want to almost turn the camera a bit on journalists right now, because the White House, the Trump team, they've been very mum as to whether or not they're feeling nervous right now. We're seeing more and more of Trump's circle being diagnosed positive for COVID-19. So I'm wondering, if his team is being pretty mum on how they're feeling, how about members of the White House press corps? How are they feeling right now? How are journalists feeling about covering this campaign? Are there any nerves about COVID-19?
I think there are nerves about COVID-19 in general whenever a reporter is traveling. For the White House press corps, I think there is absolutely concern. The White House is an older building. It is, it's not necessarily these a big open floor plan all over the building. There are some very narrow spaces. The White House press briefing room, for example, is not that big of a room. So there is definitely concern. And we know that when White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany tested positive, there was a lot of criticism from reporters who saw her take off her mask to brief them the day before. Now that concern also extends to Capitol Hill, because we know that during that Rose Garden super spreader event, Senators Tom Tillis, Mike Lee were present. So I've talked to a lot of Capitol Hill reporters who are now quarantining because they don't want to, risk infecting anyone, because they have come into contact with Senators Lee and Tillis and their staffs, and maybe, others on Capitol Hill who have come into contact with those senators. I think for covering the campaign and traveling, for the most part, campaigns are being very cautious, limiting the number of press that they are taking. And, we rely on the hardworking journalists who are pool reporters, who give us emails and such for those of us who are working remotely. But it's definitely a concerning time to be a journalist right now, when it seems that, different parts of the White House or the presidential campaigns are, instituting their own public health guidelines.
Julia, thank you for that. I appreciate the insight. Always good to have you on the program.
Thank you.